So let me ask you this then, Drew, because like we look at this show, and this show is the Command Your Brand show, and I wanted to have you on because you're somebody that really commands your brand, right? Like
Thank you.
you do, at least in my opinion, I think you do a good job at that. And I guess looking at it, then you mentioned the brand promise, and I think that's a big part of commanding your brand is having and keeping brand promises.
Yep.
And I guess for you, how have you managed to stick to that, right? Like, because it, it could become 10 insights in 10 minutes, or it could become 3 insights in 35 minutes. Like, how have you managed to stick to that and keep that brand promise? Because it's a very simple one, but a very important one to keep.
You're right. And I one of the things that I do where this played out is one of the things that I do is commentary on Super Bowl commercials.
I actually noticed that in your Twitter feed.
Yeah, thanks. And I'm a voting panelist of USA Today's Super Bowl rating of commercials, Super Bowl commercials. And before I started the podcast, I would just blog on Super Bowl commercials. So you could write forever. You could give example commercials and all kinds of stuff. And I had to cross this bridge, and actually it was called the Super Commercial Bowl blog. You know, how Super Bowl is really testy about using the word Super Bowl.
Yeah, so, they get the whole trademark thing, and
right. So we called it the Super Commercial Bowl blog. I was going to take it as a badge of honor if I got a cease and desist order from the NFL. It's like, yes, I've made it. They want me to knock it off. That never happens. But
I actually had a friend, by the way, that had Think Different in his podcast title, and he got a cease and desist from Apple. So anyway, continue.
Good for him. So anyway, with that, I had to cross that bridge because I have this podcast. It's 3 insights in 3 minutes. Do I leave the Super Commercial Bowl blog? Do I do a video version of that, or do I bring that into the podcast with three minutes? And you're playing commercials. So do you play the whole commercial? So as I looked at it, I decided I liked, it's marketing accelerator. We do things fast. Yes, we're going to bring that into the podcast. And I had to figure out how to do it. But again, pulling on my video editing background and messaging background, it's like you really have to work to figure out what are the key points you want to hit, and just hit those, not the other 10 slightly interesting ones. But you got to work through all 10 to figure out which ones are the true peaks. So that's that's just the way my mind works. So once I've set up this branding for the podcast, it's like I know how to break things down. I might do a series, but there's still in about 3 minutes. But I can do a series. And that's what I would do with the Super Bowl, is I would do a series the week of the Super Bowl, but they would all be 3:59 or less.
I feel like the later it's gotten, meaning like, we're in 2024. I feel like the Super Bowl commercials get like more esoteric every year, where you watch it and you're like, what did I just watch? What just happened? So anyway.
Yeah, well, there's 2 things going on there, Jeremy. Sorry to tell you this. One, you're aging each year.
Yeah, man. Okay, so that's an important point. So I'm like, I guess by birth, I'm like what's called an elder millennial. So I'm technically a millennial, but culturally I'm Generation X because of where I was born. So it's very interesting, man. So you are right. I am aging.
Yep. And so I have, I'm not going to remember all 3 of them, but one of the principles I have was, how, I put out a blog post, how to watch Super Bowl commercials like a USA Today ad panelist. And the first one of the points was, if you didn't get the commercial, if you don't get who that celebrity is, all right, the spot wasn't for you. But so ask somebody older, younger, or of a different gender than you if they got it, and to give you some insight, because it just keeps getting more and more and more niched, because it is a massively viewed program. If you look at the top watched programs for the last 20, probably 40 years. The Super Bowl is the Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl is the program. The finale of MASH was up there, and then there was one other thing that was up there. But other than that, it's Super Bowls and division championship games. It just pulls people together. You have parties, you don't have World Series parties that people go to who don't care about the World Series, but there's plenty of parties that people do not care about the Super Bowl, the game. They don't even know the rules, but they're there and the commercials are on. So it's a huge opportunity. That's why I love it, because it's a new crop of commercials. It's about 60 some commercials, national commercials every year. And it's the best minds working on this stuff. So it does amaze me sometimes when you see, what were they thinking? Like somebody thought that was good. I would have loved to have heard the pitch to that client. This is what we're going to do, and people are going to love it. So.
And it's going to cost so much money.
Yeah.
Ha, ha, ha,
right.
ha.
Right. Well, the $7 million for 30 seconds, that's just the airing cost. That's not the production cost,
creative agency production costs
or anything like that. They're sinking millions into it. And you can even get a local kind of like we live in the greater Cincinnati area, and I had a client, this was about 10 years ago. He got a 30-second, he's an automotive dealer in town, big automotive dealer. He did a Super Bowl commercial for 30 seconds, cost him $50,000 local. That was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Well,
I guess to show how disconnected I am culturally, one of my employees a couple of years ago had to explain to me who Post Malone was. So, that's typically how explaining things to me goes. Well, Drew, I've really enjoyed this conversation, man. We did not hit 3 insights in 3 minutes. I think we hit 107 insights in 31 minutes. So definitely appreciate it. But for people listening, how can they connect with you? How can they follow you and find out more about what you're doing out there, man?
Appreciate that. Drew Dinkelacker, marketingaccelerator.com. No funky spelling on accelerator, just like your gas pedal, ACCELERATOR.com. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Subscribe to my podcast. It's a lot of fun. And, who knows, if you got some really interesting insights, I will entertain your idea for a podcast. I'm not promising. Not everybody makes it. It's got to be interesting. It's got to be something I haven't done before. Maybe you can sell me on it, but they certainly can reach out to me via the website. And that'd be great. I would look forward to it, Jeremy.